I am Thelma Wright, a name that once carried weight in the shadows of Philadelphia's underworld. Born into a world where ambition clashed with morality, I found myself drawn into a game where survival meant mastering the art of numbers and navigating the treacherous landscape of illicit trade. Unlike the flamboyant figures that often dominate the narrative of crime, I preferred to keep a low profile, shunning the spotlight for the sake of pragmatism. Raised in comfort but lured by the allure of easy money and luxury, I made a choice that would alter the course of my life forever. The path I chose was not one of inevitability but of calculated decisions, each step driven by a desire to control my fate in a world where women like me were often marginalized or underestimated. In the heat of summer, amidst the stifling humidity of Philadelphia's streets, I found myself thrust into a world where survival meant embracing the shadows and embracing the duality of my existence. By day, I navigated the world of legitimate business with ease, concealing the truth of my double life beneath a facade of respectability. But by night, I ruled as a queen pin, wielding power and influence with a quiet determination that belied the chaos and violence that often accompanied my trade. In the face of tragedy and loss, I learned to harness my skills and instincts to carve out a place for myself in a man's world. It wasn't about greed or glory, it was about survival, about proving that a woman could thrive in the most unlikely of circumstances. Yet, amidst the chaos and the adrenaline-fueled rush of power, there was always a part of me that longed for something more, a longing for love, for family, for a life untainted by the darkness that consumed me. But in the end, I knew that the choices I made were mine alone, and that the consequences of those choices would shape the legacy I left behind. It was always about reaching another level for me. No matter what venture I pursued, I approached it with the mindset of a seasoned businesswoman. I didn't need to carry a weapon, my network and reputation spoke for themselves. People knew of my late husband's connections to the Black Mafia, which only bolstered my standing in the underworld. While many perceived the game as a man's domain, I dared to venture deeper and play at a higher level than most women dared to tread. With homes on both the East and West Coasts, I enjoyed the perks of success, from courtside seats at basketball games to the finer things in life. But as the game became easier, I expanded my reach, casting a wider net for customers. It was during a heavyweight bout in Las Vegas that I met Dee, a man who shared my entrepreneurial spirit. Our partnership in the drug trade seemed like a logical step, blending his expertise in cocaine with my knowledge of heroin. However, the illusion of success was shattered on July 11, 1991, when a night out at Studio West turned into a nightmare. Amidst the chaos of gunfire, I found myself staring down the barrels of a shotgun, realizing the precariousness of my situation and the potential consequences for myself and my son. The turning point came when my old friend Dee was arrested by federal agents, serving 6.5 years behind bars. It was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in the game I had once embraced. I knew then that I had to walk away, lest I risk losing everything I had worked so hard to build. That's exactly what I did. I made the decision to walk away from the game, never once looking back. The risks were growing, and I couldn't ignore the responsibility I had towards my child. So, I made the choice to turn my life around.
Reflecting on my journey, I find myself humbled by the twists and turns that have shaped my life. Born into a world where ambition clashed with morality, I navigated the murky waters of Philadelphia's underworld with a sense of determination and resilience that belied my outward demeanor. From an early age, I was drawn to the allure of wealth and status, captivated by the flashy cars and extravagant lifestyles that seemed just out of reach. Raised in a comfortable environment, I was no stranger to the finer things in life, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to be had, more to be achieved. It was this relentless pursuit of more that led me down a path that few dared to tread. In the heat of summer, amidst the stifling humidity of Philadelphia's streets, I found myself thrust into a world where survival meant embracing the shadows, where power and influence were the currency of choice.
By the end of 1991, I had severed ties with the underworld for good. In 2009, I found myself working for a non-profit organization, managing properties for women struggling with addiction and mental health issues. It was a chance for me to give back, to make amends for the destruction my past actions may have caused. To some, I am a mother figure, to others, a grandmother. It's a role that allows me to witness firsthand the consequences of the choices I once made. When I speak to others, I do so with a sense of urgency, warning them of the dangers of the game. I've seen firsthand that it's a no-win situation, with only two outcomes, death or jail. Looking back, I realize that I did what I did to survive, to provide for myself and my son. But would I do it again? Absolutely not. I consider myself lucky to have escaped the cycle of violence and crime that once consumed me. And as for the future, well, we'll just have to wait and see where life takes me next. Thanks for being a part of my story.
I'm totally distraught. I'm almost like in shock. And so when the police tell me now I have to go to homicide, I didn't know that was the procedure. So I call the attorney back and I tell him, well, they want me now to go to homicide. He said, yes, that's the procedure. This is what you have to do. So we go to homicide. And initially, homicide, they talk to me very nicely. Okay, your husband, we just found your husband's body in there. Tell us where you've been. And I explained to them that I was in California. I talked to him on Thursday morning, but he had been missing. I hadn't heard from him anymore. And so they're talking to me, and I tell them that I believe this has something to do with the guy, Dennis Rogers, who the girlfriend and Dennis lived in this house where they found Jackie's body. And so where it turns left is that the homicide detective says to me, well, they pull out this pen and this pad, and he says, well, I want you to write down, all of your husband's friends. And I'm like, what? Write down my husband's friends for what? And he says, well, I want their names, I said, well, my husband's friends didn't kill him. I just told you about this guy, Dennis. I know that this guy, Dennis, owed him money and stuff, and you just found his body in this house. Dennis must have something to do with this. And so this is when it turns, and the officer says, well, if you're not going to cooperate with us, the detective, he says, if you're not going to cooperate with us, then we're not going to solve this murder. And I said, I don't care. You don't have to solve it. It'll be solved one way or another. But I'm not going to give you my husband's friends' names. You know who my husband was. He has a record. You have his jacket. You know who he is. So why would I do that? And so we argue a little bit about that. And he says, the detective says, well, how do we know you didn't kill him? And I said, oh, okay, so I come to Philly, I kill my husband, I jump on a plane, I go back to LA to only turn around to come back to help you find his body? Really? I have a ticket that says I just flew from LA. I have people that flew with me from LA to Philly. When did I kill him? So I walked out.
But as the years passed and the risks grew greater, I began to question the choices I had made. The night of July 11, 1991, marked a turning point, a moment of clarity amidst the chaos of gunfire and violence. Staring down the barrels of a shotgun, I realized the fragility of life and the importance of the loved ones I would leave behind. In the aftermath of that fateful night, I made the decision to walk away from the game, to leave behind the world of crime and violence that had once defined me. It wasn't an easy choice, but it was the right one. With my son's future in mind, I turned my back on the allure of easy money and luxury, opting instead for a life of purpose and meaning. In 2009, I found myself drawn to a new path, one guided by a desire to give back to those in need. Working for a nonprofit organization, I managed properties for women struggling with addiction and mental health issues, offering them a chance at redemption and renewal. Today, I wear many hats. To some, I am a mother figure, offering guidance and support to those in need. To others, I am a grandmother, sharing stories and wisdom with the next generation. It's a role that brings me great joy and fulfillment, knowing that I am making a difference in the lives of others. When I speak to audiences, I do so with a sense of urgency, warning them of the dangers of the game I once played. I've seen firsthand the devastation it can wreak, the lives it can destroy. And so, I urge others to choose a different path, one guided by hope and possibility rather than fear and despair. Looking back on my life, I am filled with gratitude for the lessons I've learned and the experiences I've had. I may have stumbled along the way, but each misstep has only served to make me stronger, more resilient. And as I continue on this journey called life, I do so with a renewed sense of purpose and determination, ready to face whatever challenges may come my way.